Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sonal Verma. I'm the India economist at Nomura, and thanks for joining this ET.com webinar on the outlook for the economy. What I will do is basically in the next 10 minutes quickly give you brief sort of summary on what we are thinking on the macro economy, and then we can open it up for question and answers. So as far as the outlook for growth prospects in India is concerned, I think there are lots of question marks about whether we are indeed seeing a growth recovery or not, and the evidence is still quite mixed, and I think the conclusion that we arrive at based looking at different macro parameters is that it's not yet a broad-based recovery actually. What you see here is monthly data on different macroeconomic parameters, from car sales to diesel consumption to steel to cement export, basically whole host of monthly indicators that we get for the macroeconomy. And you can see it's a mix of greens and reds. What seems to be picking up, which is the green part, is basically the transportation segment. So the medium and heavy commercial vehicles are doing well, which is an indicator of some traction in industrial activity. Passenger cars are doing well. Diesel consumption is picking up. Electricity generation is also picking up. You can see aviation traffic, which is doing better. So the entire transportation side seems to be doing better. Capital goods production, which is the fourth line item there, which tends to be a proxy for investment activity, is doing better than it was in 2012-13, but still extremely volatile, but definitely seeing some traction, both capital goods as well as imports, particularly imports excluding oil and gold component, which tends to be a proxy of underlying domestic demand. You can see there's been a gradual pickup in 2015 from mid-2014 onwards. But what is also clear is that there are sectors which are still seeing significant amount of stress. So exports are very weak, which is clearly an indication of the global growth outlook. Rural demand is still quite weak. Two-wheeler, which tends to be a good indication of rural demand, that is still weak. So I think overall, the picture that emerges on the economy side in terms of is the economy recovering, the answer is not a clear-cut yes or no. Maybe is actually the answer we can probably give, but clearly there are segments which are driving the recovery right now, and few which are not yet. What you see here, therefore, is trying to look at some of the leading indicators which do have a predictive power on how business cycles will move. So the left-hand side chart is a composite leading index for India. This is constructed by the OECD, and essentially what it shows is that the economy, usually, the way to read this chart is at 100, the economy is growing close to potential. So the potential of different countries will be different. For India, it can be 6, 7, 8, 9. Whatever is the potential. The question is, where are we relative to that potential? And what the red line shows is that in the last 6 to 9 months, there's been a clear pickup in the growth cycle, and growth is actually now getting close to potential. In fact, the right-hand side chart that you see, the red line there, is a composite leading index that Nomura has constructed in-house. And this has a lead of 2 quarters over the non-agriculture GDP growth cycle. And it basically confirms what we see in the OECD index, which is that the sort of narrow and not yet broad-based recovery that we are seeing so far, the question is whether it will sustain or not. What the leading indicators are telling us is that it is likely to sustain and probably become a bit more broad-based over the course of the next 6 to 9 months. There are different aspects in terms of what's driving this recovery. I think, consumption clearly looks like is doing much better, particularly urban consumer discretionary demand. The question and the question marks really are around the outlook for investment and particularly private investment, whether it's going to pick up or not in the coming period. Well, some of the data that we look at from agencies like CMIE, which give the new investment projects, the stalled investment projects, whether the projects are getting revived or not, do give us a relatively more optimistic or maybe less pessimistic outlook, in the sense that new investment projects in the last 12 months have actually improved, and they're better than what they were both in fiscal 13 and fiscal 14. In fact, if you look at the right-hand side chart here, there's a clear pickup in the number of projects that are getting revived, and there is a fall in the number of stalled projects. And therefore, what it would suggest is that some debottlenecking, even on the private sector side, is underway, and that might lead to some pickup in private investments. But having said that, I think the bigger issue is one of demand, not domestic, but more global. And we have seen private capex cycles being more positively correlated to the global growth cycles. And when we have a situation of excess capacity globally in sectors like metals, for instance, really the need for domestic manufacturing companies to do big capex doesn't arise. So there might be, specific sectors where demand is very good, like the discretionary side of demand, where we may see some capex, but a big pickup in greenfield private capex, broad-based across the manufacturing sector at this stage looks, like less likely in the coming period. One is the demand issue. Capacity utilization in general is around 65–70%. Typically, we tend to see capex pick up when capacity utilization across sectors hits 80%. We are nowhere there. We can meet more demand just by producing more and increasing our capacity utilization rate. The other issue, of course, is one of balance sheets. And private sector balance sheets, because of the last 4–5 years, are under stress, and some of these companies are looking to actually deleverage their balance sheet rather than go ahead and do more private capex. So I think the outlook on private capex is better than the last 2 years. Maybe some debottlenecking. Probably some pickup in private capex in sectors where actually demand is picking up, which is more consumer oriented. But other than that, a broad-based pickup at this stage looks quite unlikely. Instead, what seems to be a focus is really, government and public sector driven investment. And in the last 12 to 18 months, different sectors are being prioritized in terms of driving public capex cycle, from sectors like railways, where the focus is on decongestion of the existing lines, certain expansion, redevelopment of station by private sector. In roads, the National Highway Program, where there is actually a lot of work going on. These are, I think, two sectors where we are already seeing some traction. In some of the other sectors, these are the plans that are expected to pan out over the course of the next 1 to 2 years, which is building more national waterways, connecting the ports in India, which is called the Sagarmala project, the new smart city development that is being talked about, within power, more renewable investment as a next driver of capex. So the economy seems to be picking up, I would say, in the initial stages of a recovery, but the delta in terms of the growth is really being driven not necessarily by the sectors that drove the capex cycle in the last 5 to 10 years. It's really a new set of sectors that are expected to drive the delta. So what does it mean for India, and how does that compare to rest of Asia? India, of course, is going to stand out as one of the highest growth performing countries. Last year we had a growth rate of around 7.5%. In the next 1 to 2 years, looks like growth is going to go up closer to 8%. At a time when Nomura's house view is that China's growth rate is going to moderate from between 6.5 to 7% in 2015 to slightly under 6% in 2016. So I think there is a bit of frustration sometimes in terms of the growth cycle in India, but we have to keep in mind the global environment we are in right now. And the global environment is anything but conducive. It's a significant headwind to grow when the world is slowing down. And in a relative sense, actually, India does seem to be doing better. Well, other than growth, as far as inflation is concerned, we have seen India's CPI inflation falling quite sharply in the last 2 years from 10 to 12%. Inflation has fallen to around 5% currently. Part of this was because of the growth slowdown, which reduced inflationary pressures. Part of this was because of government policies like keeping the increase in support prices low. Part of this is because of global factors like commodity prices, like oil coming down. Our view at Nomura is that a lot of these factors have played out. And going forward, we are not expecting a further fall in CPI inflation, but rather for CPI inflation to stabilize in the 5 to 6% range. And therefore, as far as the interest rates are concerned, we are expecting a stable interest rate environment as well going forward. Now, moving on to the external sector and the current account deficit, what you see here, the black line is the current account deficit, so it's actually a negative number. We've represented it as positive. But of course, in the last 3 years, there's been significant moderation in the current account deficit. We had a current account deficit in excess of $80 billion per annum. That's now come down to around $35 billion, actually closer to $25 to $30 billion in 2015. Now, one of the key positives that we see emerging for India is really what's happening on the FDI side. FDI, or foreign direct investment, tends to be a more stable form of capital inflow because this money is coming into building new factories or is really putting money in the businesses here. And this money actually has been picking up. So if you look at the red line, in the last 1.5 to 2 years, this was stable around $20 billion. It's now tracking around $35 billion. So we had a massive current account deficit and very low FDI flow. Now we have a significantly lower current account deficit, and actually we have a situation where FDI inflows are picking up and they are more than financing the entire current account deficit. So the red line actually is higher than the black line that you see here on the screen, which is clearly a good news because we have stable financing of the current account deficit. And this, is particularly good news when you compare India to China. China net FDI inflows have been moderating from, China used to see an annual FDI inflow of over 4% of GDP. That's now fallen to about 2% of GDP. India, on the other hand, used to get FDI inflow of between 0 to 1% of GDP. Today, it's around 1.5% of GDP. So there is obviously a mix. There are a mix of factors that are driving this. I think specifically for China, there are factors like labor costs, which are increasing now, and so companies are looking to destinations outside China. A lot of this FDI money from China has initially moved into Vietnam and some of the ASEAN economies, and incrementally now, if India does focus on ease of doing business and improve the business climate, then incrementally more of this FDI inflow actually should come in. In the last 1 year, we have seen across different sectors a number of companies committing to invest more long-term capital into India in different sectors, from solar energy to defense, railways, electronics. And as this money actually starts coming in, the share of FDI in overall GDP can easily cross China in the next 2-3 years, which is positive for external sector. It's positive for productivity because it's going to bring in more technological know-how, and it's positive because it should create more employment opportunities as well domestically. Now, moving on to the fiscal side, we have seen the central government reduce its fiscal deficit from close to 6% of GDP in 2008-9 to about 4% of GDP in FY16. And the target is to reduce the fiscal deficit further to 3.5% of GDP in FY17 and then to 3% in FY18. One of the key challenges that the government is going to face in the next 2 years in this consolidation plan is really the implementation of the 7th Pay Commission recommendations. As most of you all know now, the Pay Commission has recommended slightly over 23% increase in the pay pension allowance bill for central government employees. What it means is an additional fiscal burden of around 0.5% of GDP for the central government itself. Rest of it, of course, is going to be borne by railways. And typically what we've seen historically when the 5th and the 6th Pay Commission was implemented is an increase in the salary and pension bill. And therefore, our view is that if the government has to consolidate its fiscal deficit in the next 2 years, at a time when salaries are increasing and the wage bill is increasing, then the money towards other items, including capital expenditure, may have to be pruned, or the fiscal deficit consolidation roadmap will be at risk. Also, what happens when the pay hikes are implemented is since the house rent allowance component goes up for employees, there tends to be a one-off increase in CPI inflation as well. So some of these things we should expect to play out in the next 12 to 18 months as well. And finally, as far as the reform agenda is concerned, there is obviously a lot of focus on GST and land as the big reforms by the government, but there is a clear pipeline of different reforms by different ministries, some legislative, some executive reforms that should get implemented over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. So, the Bihar election loss does not mean a complete stop in our view to the reform agenda. Reforms will continue to be incremental as they have in the past, and probably more executive decisions and some legislative decisions. So let me just conclude. Growth seems to be picking up, currently more led by consumption. Private investments are weak. We might see some pickup, but a big pickup in private investments is unlikely. Public investment is where the delta focus is now. The fiscal side might see some stress because of the pay commission, so this is something we need to watch out for. CPI inflation, our view is it's going to stabilize in the 5 to 6% range. Interest rates to be basically stable, therefore. Reforms to be incremental, focus on executive decisions. And on the external sector, given commodity prices are low, the external sector current account looks like it will be within the sustainable level, which tends to be around 2% of GDP. Current account below that number, and the FDI flows picking up is basically a positive. Let me stop there, and if you all have any questions, please feel free to type them, and we'll look forward to interacting with you all. Thank you.